let's talk about your latest contribution. Your body of work includes something called the Wheel of Consent, and also an adaptation of something called the 3-minute game, which I
Mm-hmm.
think could be something you hear at a swing party. or it could be something
That sounds fun.
right. I'm just going to keep that and let people think about that for a moment. We'll get back to the 3-minute game. What could that be? Well, it's quite interesting, and so again, there's a whole range of ways that your teaching can be used with sort of what we could say maybe G-rated and all the way up to, if we have to say, X-rated.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about the Wheel of Consent.
Well, actually, I want to start with the 3-minute game because that's
Sure.
where the Wheel of Consent started.
Great.
So at one of these workshops that I was going to those years, that we learned a game called the 3-minute game. It was developed by a man named Harry Faddis, who's a therapist. And the game is this: two people, and you take turns asking each other these two questions, and then you do whatever you agree to do. The two questions are, what do you want me to do to you for 3 minutes? Well, hell yeah, I can think of some fun things. And then you negotiate and agree, and then you do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the other question is, what do you want to do to me for 3 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hell yeah, I can think of some fun things there as well. So, when there's two people and two questions, you end up with 4 rounds of the game.
Mm-hmm.
In one of them, I'm doing what you want. And in another one, I'm doing what I want. And there's a very big difference between those two.
Speak about that for a second.
That
may not be obvious.
And then you're doing what you want, and then you're doing what I want.
So 4 variations.
4 variations.
Yep.
And when you overlap them by asking, well, who is doing and who it's for, then you get 4 quadrants.
Yes.
It's just geometry.
Yep. I'll put a graphic up with your permission that this can be easy to see for people watching the video, but there is that intersection and overlap.
Yeah.
And the second question, say that again, because it's a little bit, at first it sounds like an obvious question, but it's not one we usually are asked.
That's right. So when I started using this with my clients, because I figured, okay, it's going to be a nice transition from the talking, history taking, planning part of the session to the touching.
Mm-hmm.
And then I narrowed it down just for my own uses. So now I use, how do you want me to touch you? And how do you want to touch me?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the 2 different questions that you're talking about. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's quite a difference. And for most of us, when we are doing the touching, we're giving a back rub, or we're feeling somebody up, or, our hands are on our sweetie.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to think that it's for the benefit of the person being touched. And sometimes it is, as it should be. But what's very often missing is the opportunity to touch someone just because you want to, just because it feels good to your hands. And that's a foreign concept to most people. And for most people, as I'm teaching it in sessions and workshops, it can be very difficult to find. And it very often brings up an emotional response of shame or guilt or confusion or sadness or any number of things. But it's a fundamental human need and desire to take action for what you want, and to feel up and interact with a person. So and yet that gets cut off pretty systematically when we're small, because you're not supposed to feel people up.